It's recording.
Okay. So, you know, as the Rabbi said, you know, I'm graduating from the Makina program, which, you know, has nurtured me. It's great. Actually, Shuli's here because Shuli Karsi's my head Rusa in the morning, and he's really basically taught me how to understand Hebrew, and now we're translating and all that type of stuff.
Mechina, Mordechai. Mechina.
Yeah, Mechina.
We're working on it.
But the thing that's interesting about it is just, the thing about it is just you know, Ohr Somayach is just really about building individuals, and like Mechina is just like the first level, you know, and there's many more levels to your development. And I was just gonna say, you know, something Rabbi Matulon said in his Ali Shir. A few weeks ago, and I think it kind of is a precursor to just kind of like the idea I want to share tonight. He said that, you know, Rob Dessler says in his writings that if a person is reading the Torah and they have a problem with something that's in the Torah, like they don't want to believe it or they don't understand why they have to do it, he says that the person doesn't have an issue with the Torah itself or what's being said. They have an issue with the fact that what they're learning is going to make them have to change their life and change, you know, who they are as a person. And so, you know, on one level, like growing in Torah is like the most amazing thing ever, you know, and at the same time, it's very scary too, because, you know, you're going down this road and it's like you're learning all these new ideas and all these new concepts, and it's not like you're learning physics or philosophy or some type of like, you know, historical idea. You're learning things that God says. You're learning how God expresses what we consider thinking in this world. And it's like, you have a choice to either do what God wants or you do what you think you want. And it's like, the more you do what God wants, the more of the world that you come from, you know, it vanishes. So like growing and going into like a new program, a higher share, and all these things, which I have to say, it's a nace that I'm even in the program. Like it's not, I'm not going in with like horses and drums and all that. Like it's like the Rabbi Rockman was really like being open to me and really helping me develop even more and really work on myself. I have a lot of tutors because I need a lot of tutors. But anyway, but that's the idea of like going down this road. And so I just want to give like two examples from from a few of the different parshas that we've been reading. It's like I want to talk about the idea of overcoming just the seduction of the world, you know, in the end product of overcoming that. Because when you think about like the idea, for example, when Yosef Hasadik is being seduced by Potiphar's wife, you know, the sages, the Mefarshim, they parallel that to the Jewish person that's connected to their Yiddishkeit, that's connected to their Torah. And they go outside of their house every day, or even in their house, depending on how much technology they have, how they're being seduced to get away from who they are as people, you know, who they're supposed to be in this world, and they're being convinced through like lust and physicality to give that. And that's Yosef Hasadik, and we could parallel that same idea to Sarah Aminu, because it's a very interesting idea. Like we talked about at Shlomi's house, it was amazing Hanukkah party this year, one of the best parties I've ever been to in my life. Just it was so much Akdus and so much other things. It was great. But we talked about the land of Gershon, the significance of the land of Gershon that Yosef wanted the Jewish people to live at, and it was a fruitful land. I mean, the soil was fertile. I mean, the Torah talks about those things. But even more important than that is the idea that when the Pharaoh was trying to seduce Sarah Menu after she was abducted, when her and Abraham went into Mitzrayim, the sages talk about the idea of how the Pharaoh was trying to give her jewels and jewelry and all these things of physicality, that material items, and one of the things that he gave to her was the land of Gershon. And so, Gershon. Goshen, yes, it is Goshen. The pay.
We know.
So land of Goshen, he offered that to Sarah, and you think about it today, like so many women are influenced by materialism and Saks Fifth Avenue and Gucci and this type of car and, you know, and how I look to these people and having power and status. And Sarah was given that times a zillion. I mean, this is literally the most powerful person in the world. Like 10 Donald Trumps, you know? Like the most influential person in the world is offering her the entire material world, and she's rejecting it. Why? To connect to Harsh Baruch, to connect to her husband and to maintain the covenant that she made with Hashem, with her husband, and maintain that. And they said because of the merit of Sarah rejecting all the materialism in the world, that the land of Goshen was fertile and ripe with not just, you know, being able to toil the land for crops, but also there was a land that had Kedusha, that had Hashem's presence, because it was under Sarah Menu's influence and domain, because it was given to her. And so it's just, those are just two ideas. Those are two ideas of being in Galus, of a man being faced with the seduction of the opposite gender and lustful desires and power. And you see Yosef Asadik being faced with that and paralleling that to what we go through and seeing like how we are also being faced with that. And you can see women being in Galus and being faced with materialism and being faced with all these different gashnias, you know, so these are two ideas. And so the point that I just want to make is that the Torah is giving us a clear outline of what we're going to be faced with every day until Mashiach reveals himself, and what we're into the temple is built, at least. And from that place we could see that the only way that we can become this Yosef Asadik or women being the Sarah Menu is by giving ourselves completely to Torah. That's the only way that we could do it. And even though it's scary, and even though you're going to have to let go parts of yourself and you're going to have to change your life, if you want to achieve your ultimate potential in life, the Torah is giving you a clear outline. Yosef Asadik overcame the materialism, overcame the physical desires and the lust in Egypt, the same Egypt that we live in today, and he became historic, and his name will live forever. Sarah Menu overcame all of the physicality, all the goshness, all the purses and the gold watches and beautiful shoes and land and silvers and diamonds. All that. She didn't want any of that to be connected to Hashem and to be the matriarch of the Jewish people. And now she lives forever. And so in the same way for us, if we choose the route of the Torah, which is letting go of who we are and finding out what our purpose is in this life, you know, we will also be able to live together. And this is my final idea. You know, I wanted to thank Rabbi Salinger for, you know, just always being supportive of me having a platform to share the inspiration that I received here at the Yeshiva. And I mean, I think I have like probably close to like 80 or 90 drashes that I've given since I've been in the Mekina program, and they're all here, and they're all in all the, who knows what the future holds in terms of what is going to happen or what I'm going to do, but for sure, Rabbi Salinger, being supportive, has like a share in all the Torah that I share, you know, out speaking with people, and him and his family, God willing. And you know, Shomi Klein for just being supportive and, you know, looking at me as a great guy. And the more people see you as a great guy, the more you become a great guy. And, you know, he continue to have success, and just all the Bakram and Mekina. You know, you have Center, you have, you know, we have Olagola, we have, you know, intermediary. Intermediate, it's, you know, just, you know, find out who you are. I mean, Ohr Somayach is a gift from God, and all of us have a path to find out who we are and become who we're supposed to be. And I would just say, just take advantage of it, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Amen.